Who is someone that we praise but was actually a horrible person? Chris Gardner, the man who Will Smith played in The Pursuit of Happiness, is considered to be an amazing success story, an inspiration, and a great father. He actually cheated on his wife WTH, a dental student, and got her pregnant. He then started dating said dental student and reportedly beat her. He was even taken in by police because of a domestic abuse charge. I'm just going to pretend that the movie was about someone else. Bob Marley was a pretty crappy father. I love so much when people post the Marley quote on Facebook that something like the worst thing a man can do is take a woman's love with no intention of returning it. Mother, you had like 10 different baby mamas. Before the whole raping thing, Bill Cosby, if you ever hear some of the comedians and actresses he has worked with, a lot of them say how much of a dong he was to everyone. 30 Rock even made a reference to this years ago, but barely anyone caught on. Around my region, people worship Dr. Ralph Stanley, the bluegrass musician who wrote and performed Man of Constant Sorrow. They have shirts and bumper stickers proclaiming Ralph Stanley for president. He's actually a total dong. He stops in the middle of live performances to berate other players, and he even refused to attend the dedication of a state-funded Ralph Stanley museum unless he was paid an appearance fee. Congratulations. First time I've seen something original posted in one of these threads in a while. Dr. Stanley has an incredible influence on bluegrass, but I've never heard about this. Something to research. Dr. Seuss was having an affair with a woman while his wife had cancer. His wife killed herself because of it. Whoa, I'm never fazed by these threads, but this actually really bums me out, especially his wife's note. Good job. It's my estimation that every man ever got a statue made of him was one kinda sumbitch or another. Malcolm Reynolds. Makes sense when you realize Gene gets a statue in an episode and Adam Baldwin is notorious for being a dong. Charles Dickens dumped his wife of 10 kids and 22 years for an 18-year-old mistress. When she called him out on it, he publicly called her a fat idiot. He was such a poop and his wife was so dignified, wouldn't even defend herself, and when she was dying, she gave some love letters he'd once written her to the British Museum so people would know he'd once loved her. I'll just repost my answer to a question similar to this that was posted a while back. James Cameron. His movies are great but he's such an butt. There's a reason why the crews to your movies are constantly revolting against you. If you make Ed Harris cry, you must be a crazy butthole. A little less known but one of so many names that fall into the same category. Former Prime Minister of Ethiopia Meles Zenawi, praised by Bill Gates, Obama and company, but is responsible for oppression and many deaths among the poor. Steve Harvey. He was married 3 times and cheated, all 3 times. As a result, he was divorced 3 times. Still writes book on relationships, not to mention his views lack of understanding of evolution. Pablo Picasso, genius artist though he undeniably was, treated the people in his life like crap, affairs on top of affairs. He drove his first wife into a mental breakdown and literally turned their only son into Picasso's chauffeur. He had a child with his first mistress, who he played mind games with on a daily basis for the rest of her life. After he died, she killed herself. His second mistress he drove into a mental breakdown. His third, he physically abused. He did have 2 children with her, who he refused to legally acknowledge for years. And his second and final wife, treated like a doormat, who also ended up killing herself after he died. Oh, and after he died, his second wife barred all of his previous family from his funeral, including his grandson, who was so distraught by this he killed himself too. Amazing, amazing artist, but totally freaking sadistic in how he treated the people around him. Some people try to pick up girls and get called butthole. That never happened to Pablo Picasso. I think John Edward is pretty high up on my butthole list. He's not in butthole, he's the biggest bag in the universe. Freaking Oprah. Oprah is the only reason people ever even started to pay attention to this entire Jenny McCarthy autism vaccines bulls. She's the only reason people trust Dr. Phil to give advice. Spoiler alert, he should not be counseling people. She's the reason my grandma says crap like, but Dr. Oz said if I eat lot of green coffee and run acai berries on my face I'll look 40. Still love you though, grandma. Oprah has caused a lot of bulls. Frick Oprah. Michael Jordan was a bit of an butthole. Can't knock on his game, but you can find a lot of bad crap about him with a simple Google search if you're interested. A bit. That's an understatement. I've never read a single account of a story that portrays Michael Jordan as a decent person or even a person who just isn't a dong. Jordan is notorious for being a huge bag. By current standards, pretty much everyone who lived on the planet before about 1800. Horrible is a strong word, but any of the Scientology celebrities, I'd have to say, I'm always surprised by who is a part of it. I love Leah Remini and was a little surprised when I found out she was a Scientologist. She actually recently came out last year though and confirmed she is not longer a Scientologist and was quite critical of them. She said she lost a majority of family and friends by leaving, but she seems happier. Charles Bukovsky. Yeah, I know he's a pretty good read, but God, who'd wanna be such an butthole? I also don't get who would want to be such a control freak. Jimmy Savile. Over here in the UK he had his own TV show and was a celebrity, until after he died it was revealed that he was fixing more than the children's wishes. I guess it's past tense, being praised, but yeah. Not a single person, but the Kennedy family, especially Ted Kennedy, had an affair with his secretary, got into a car accident with her, while DUI, then left her to die. Jack had charm, Bobby had fervor. If Ted drives you home, bring a life preserver. Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin kidnapped a 14-year-old girl. Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin kidnapped a 14-year-old girl. Andrew Jackson. From the spoil system to the Trail of Tears. Thanks again, Mr. Jackson. Let us honor your achievements by placing you on our $20 bill. Well, the guy hated paper money, so putting him on the $20 bill is a big frick you to him. Abe Lincoln got the name Honest Abe because of his impartial judgment during dong fights. A bit late to the party, but I think an important person to mention on this topic is Salvador Dali. He was a big supporter of the fascist Franco movement in Spain in the 1930s. To make things worse, his former, best friend led a resistance against Franco. Dali betrayed him, got him killed and destroyed the resistance. Also, there are a lot of reports of him having his boy toys, young teenage boys who he would have as his students, but he allegedly sold their pieces as his for a lot of money, and keeping it, and had sexual relationships with them, sexually abused them. Sean Penn. I know someone who volunteered at his hospital in Haiti. He would throw people's shoes into the jungle if they left them out. Not as bad as assault, but still a dong. I mean, I know I am supposed to praise dear leader, but Kim Jong-un is kind of a dong. I'm surprised you were even allowed to finish that comment. Woody Allen. To this day, my husband refuses to believe that he is scummy. I believe Thomas Edison was quite an butthole. Does anyone actually praise Columbus anymore? I've heard people crapping on him far more than I've heard them praising him. I'm not saying he should be praised, I'm saying I've seen his name pop up several times in this thread, yet he is not a figure many people actually praise. It depends on what you mean by horrible. Martin Luther King Jr. is probably the most iconic figure to help give black people equality, yet he cheated on his wife plenty of times and people close to him believed that he looked down on gay people as well. As several others have pointed out, he also plagiarized his thesis. I mean, we have a US holiday named after him. That puts him on the same pedestal as MLK. Steve Harvey seems to always be put on a fast track to sainthood, but really he is just a religious extremist and misogynist with incredibly scary warped views of the world and how it should be. Steve Jobs. Che Guevarities confuse the heck out of me. Dude contributed to one of the biggest political silencings in recent history. Why the frick do we want to represent a mass murderer? Jebediah Springfield aka Hans Sprungfield. At least he didn't marry his cousin. King Arthur. Dude ain't even real. Lancelot is the real son of a bee here. You could probably take any hero and find something truly despicable about them, just as I'm sure you could take any villain and find a decent character trait. The question of whether or not they're horrible people really comes down to individual perspectives on morality. For example, it's a little known fact that the mediocre artist Adolf Hitler was actually a horrible racist. On the opposite side, evil overlord Bill Gates has donated nearly $30 billion to a variety of humanitarian causes. Lauryn Hill would frequently not show up to her own shows, and when she did she was often too wasted or drugged out to play properly. She would also demand that her co-artists, including the rest of the Fugees, call her Ms. Hill or Empress. She also blamed slavery for her tax evasion sentencing in 2013, to which she spent 3 months in jail for. Rob Schneider goes down to Home Depot and pays migrant workers to go to his house and choke him in the shower. That seems like something he would do. Dr. Dre, the most gangster thing he ever did was beat up a woman at a party, then hid behind Suge Knight so he wouldn't get beat up. Not that I'm advocating violence against women, just saying that guy's a big phony. And to think we almost forgot about Dre in this thread. Bill Murray and my former favorite actor Gary Oldman both abuse their wives. Reddit fricking loves Bill Murray though. ETA, I stand corrected. Abuse allegations against Oldman turned out to be false. Yay. The Long Island medium. Peddling to people's darkest experiences. She makes me so angry. Mother Teresa. Al Sharpton. Such a criminal pig. I don't think there are a whole lot of people who are particularly fond of Al Sharpton. Gandhi was openly racist towards black people. He wanted to distinguish his people from black people in the eyes of the world. Mahatma Gandhi comes to mind when asked this question. There seems to be a universal agreement that he was a great man and always did the right thing, but quite a few Indians, specifically Hindus and Sikhs, despise the man. He was actually quite a terrible leader and mishandled a lot of things. Some blame him for the atrocious deaths that could have been prevented if not for his non-violence approach to everything, and a lot of people blame him for the separation of India and Pakistan. He was two-faced. While on the surface he preached of a united India, at the same time he was sending letters to Muslim leaders motivating them to fight for partition. He was a terrible leader, and not many people outside of India know much about that. He was just a puppet of the British rule, who convinced the Indian population to not use violence while the British continued to do so. He was in fact a horrible person, and I haven't even mentioned the fact that he was sexist, racist, while in South Africa, and commonly made 15-16-year-old girls sleep naked in his room, including his grandniece. Indian here. He was also extremely sexist. Apparently Elvis was just downright horrible to work with. Same goes for Brian May. George Lopez, on top of being only mildly funny on the rare occasion he need a kidney transplant in 2004 and his wife and donated one. He then proceeded to take said kidney and cheat on his wife. Ctrl+F Mr. Rogers, sigh of relief. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.